Howdy folks, Nathan Adland here with the Fast Lane Car, and behind me is the 2015 Volkswagen Jetta. Yes, I know, it doesn't look like a 2015, and that's because, well, all the changes really are under the skin. And that's what makes this car so interesting, because I believe this is one of the most rewarding cars you can get for around $20,000, and that is coming up next. Try to guess how efficient this little turbocharged Jetta is. Any guesses? I'll tell you. Combined 29 miles per gallon. That's pretty impressive. What's more impressive? According to this, the Moroni, 37 miles per gallon on the highway, 25 miles per gallon in the city. That is really, really good. Let me stop again. Just absorb this. 37 miles per gallon on the highway. That is nearly at a diesel level. I say this all the time, but this really is where the magic happens, and that's because this 1.8 liter turbocharged engine is simply one of the best engines of its size that I've driven. Volkswagen has this magical way of being able to pair up a turbocharger with a small four-cylinder engine in such a way that it feels just unlike any other car. Now I know what you're thinking. This is a really cool car. Nathan, you're right. It looks like it's a lot of fun, but why does it have a 5-speed manual instead of a 6-speed manual? The answer is, I don't know. I have no idea. I cannot figure out German thinking. Let me give you an example of German thinking. This car is a lot of fun to drive. It has actually an excellent suspension, which is shared with the GLI, which is the badass Jetta. That's great. But for some reason, they didn't put in a standard USB port, not even one. I mean, look, I'm not trying to be prissy about this, but some of the cheapest cars sold in America come standard with a couple. So I don't really understand why this car doesn't have that as standard issue. It should, and it doesn't. Bet you're wondering about overall competition. And that's the interesting thing about this car, because it doesn't really have a direct competitor because of the engine. Sure, the Hyundai Elantra, the Honda Civic, the Toyota Corolla, all of those cars do compete with this in terms of the price category, but none of them offer the type of power and performance you get off of this engine. None of them. That's impressive. I say this all the time, but this really is where the magic happens, and that's because this 1.8 liter turbocharged engine is simply one of the best engines of its size that I've driven. Volkswagen has this magical way of being able to pair up a turbocharger with a small four-cylinder engine in such a way that it feels just unlike any other car. There's almost no lag. Even at high altitude, the power is excellent. 170 horsepower. Better yet, 184 pound-feet of torque. And that, to me, is fantastic. Now, if you look at the actual engine itself, it may remind you of something. And you know what it reminds me of? The same engine that's in the Audi A3, and that's exactly because it is. It puts out a little bit more torque in the Audi, and it's hooked up to a DSG in that car, whereas in this vehicle, it's hooked up to a very nice shifting 5-speed manual transmission. There is a 6-speed automatic available as well. Now, with that being said, that Audi, that car's like $14,000 more than this car. So what you're basically looking at here, if you look at just the engine bay, is a discount Audi. I prefer the manual transmission in a Honda over this one just a little tiny bit. This is a really good manual transmission. It's well spaced. The throws are relatively short. The overall feel of the clutch, well, it's not rubbery. You do have to engage it by pushing down a little bit more than you would in certain other manual transmissions, but it's not a performance transmission to begin with. It's an efficient one that just happens to be a lot of fun to shift. Folks, I'm not gonna lie to you. I look at this car and I don't see a big difference between this one and the 2014. As a matter of fact, you really have to know Jettas in order to figure out the minor things they've done with the taillights and the headlights in order to make it a different car. Unlike the rest of the car, the exterior is sort of like lazy engineering because they never bothered to really do anything to make it substantially new. And that's a shame, it's a missed opportunity. I do like one thing here, and it's not the wheels. These are pretty small, they're actually 16-inch and they come with the SE package. I like the tires, not because they have good grip, and they're decent grip, it's because that extra meat, which you rarely get nowadays because everybody wants 19 and 20-inch wheels, actually makes for a very good riding car. And there's a little tiny, very sweet growl coming out of the 1.8 liter engine, and it sounds fantastic. I love it. It's rewarding. It kind of tells you, yeah, okay, I'm getting this thing going. I'm going over 6,000 RPM before I'm shifting. It's letting me do it. It's got a nice little growl, a little snort to it, but it's not obnoxious. That's freaking awesome. I was going to use a new term for TFL car, and that is the BAT, which is big ass trunk. That's a big ass trunk, 15.7 cubic feet. And it is equipped with a donut underneath, so there's no refill kit, which is good. The hinges do impede on interior space, so if you have like luggage in there and you're putting stuff in there, you're gonna have a problem if you stuffed it all the way up to the brim, which is an issue with these types of trunks, which is a shame because it is a big ass trunk, and I like saying big ass trunk. In fact, I think I'm going to say big ass trunk with every single big ass trunk I come across. I think that's a good idea. The ride is surprisingly compliant when you have these tires and wheels. The 16-inch wheels with the nice fat sidewall tires, you just don't see that anymore. Everybody wants 19-inch wheels with a little tiny bit of rubber, which look cool, but they usually transmit with too much weight and they are uncomfortable. This is a comfortable ride, and it does have to do with the tires. I'm not gonna lie to you, the interior is drab and kind of boring. It's unfortunate that they opted to really keep things a little too simple, but I think Volkswagen's mentality is we don't want it to look too much like an Audi, which is fine. Fortunately, the seats are very comfortable. They're fairly easy to adjust. And with my big boy shoes on, I'm about 6'1". Check this out. I'm able to comfortably get behind myself with good leg room, good foot room, and pretty decent headroom. Overall, it's a very comfortable back seat. But with that being said, there is a problem, and that's this big piece of plastic right here. I mean, look at it. They've had it since they've redone the Jetta a few years back. And to me, it doesn't make any sense why Volkswagen keeps this hard plastic and doesn't cover it with some sort of material. And once again, this car costs about $20,000. I really like cars that respond with either lots of goodies for the money or lots of fun for the money. And that's this car. It's a lot of fun for the money. In terms of TFL cars, buy it, lease it, rent it, or forget it, I give it a buy it because of this excellent 1.8 liter engine, fantastic suspension, and a really good 5-speed manual transmission. Yes, I know. I wish it was a 6-speed manual as well, which is ironic because they actually have that available for the diesel version of this car. It's a good car though, and it doesn't even look like it's a great car, but it's a lot of fun, and that's the bottom line. If a car makes you happy, it's a good car, and this car makes me happy, and I bet a lot of you will be happy driving it too. For the Fast Lane Car, this is Nathan Adlin. See you next time. One of the great things about what we do is that we have a test track now to do 0 to 60 times, and we have that video of this car doing 0 to 60, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised about how well it does over a mile above sea level.